Welcome to our channel History of Coins, where we explore the hidden gems of numismatics. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of rare 1-cent coins, cause some of these coins are rare among collectors and are worth millions. So today, we are gonna uncover the rarest coins and their values. So make sure to watch the complete video and find out if you have one of these. Now let's continue our today's video. Top 1 today, we're zooming in on one of the most humble yet potentially valuable coins in American history. The 1963 1-cent coin, better known as the Lincoln cent. Yes, you heard that right. That small copper penny you might have seen lying around in your grandparents' drawer or buried at the bottom of an old coin jar could actually be a secret jackpot for collectors, and some rare versions of this coin have fetched absolutely mind-blowing prices. Before you rush off to check your spare change, let's take a deep dive into what makes this unassuming coin so incredibly special. Let's set the stage. The year is 1963. John F. Kennedy is president. America is buzzing with change, from the civil rights movement to the space race. And amid all this, the United States Mint is quietly producing hundreds of millions of 1-cent coins featuring the profile of President Abraham Lincoln. These coins were struck in Philadelphia and Denver and circulated all across the country. Most people used them for everyday purchases without giving them a second thought. But not all 1963 Lincoln cents are created equal. At first glance, the 1963 penny doesn't seem all that rare. In fact, over 2 billion of them were minted. So why on earth would anyone pay a fortune for just one? Well, that's where things get exciting. You see, while the majority of these pennies are common and worth only face value, a small number have unique characteristics, minting errors, variations, and pristine conditions that turn them into collector gold. These are the coins that make numismatists' hearts race. Let's talk about mint errors. These are tiny mistakes that happen during the coin-making process, and believe it or not, collectors love them. In the case of the 1963 1-cent coin, there are a few specific types of errors that can dramatically boost its value point. One of the most desirable errors is the double die. This happens when the coin is struck more than once by the die, causing certain details, like the date or lettering, to appear doubled. On a 1963 penny, a clear double die on the word liberty or the motto, "In God We Trust," can turn an ordinary coin into a collector's dream. Another rare error is the off-center strike, where the coin's design is visibly misaligned, leaving a blank crescent of metal on one side. If a 1963 penny was struck significantly off-center, especially with the date still fully visible, that's another potential jackpot. Then we have the elusive wrong planchet error. This is when a coin is accidentally struck on the metal blank mint for a different denomination. Imagine a 1963 penny made of silver or struck on a dime blank. These are extremely rare and highly sought after by experienced collectors. But it's not just errors that drive up the value. Condition matters. In the world of coin collecting, condition is everything. Coins that have been in circulation, passed from hand to hand, tend to show scratches, discoloration, and wear. But coins that were preserved, never used, never touched, those are the real treasures. A 1963 Lincoln cent in mint state, that is, in flawless, uncirculated condition, especially if it's been professionally graded by a service like PCGS or NGC, can command a hefty price tag. Why? Because out of billions minted, only a tiny fraction remain in such perfect shape, and collectors will pay a premium for perfection. And here's the cherry on top for all you passionate coin lovers watching right now. One of these little copper coins, just one 1963 Lincoln cent in immaculate condition with a rare error, was once sold for a jaw-dropping $82,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. A single penny, something most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground, sold for $82,000 because of its rarity, its pristine state, and the passion of collectors who understand its value. Now imagine finding one of those in your possession. That's why this hobby is so thrilling. It's a real-life treasure hunt where even the smallest, most overlooked coins can hold immense value. If you know what to look for, the next time you come across a 1963 penny, don't dismiss it. Examine it closely. Look for doubling in the lettering. Check the strike for misalignment. Feel the surface. Does it look fresh and untouched? Because if you're lucky, you might just be holding something far more valuable than you ever imagined. Top 2, we're talking about one of the most overlooked yet fascinating pieces of American currency, a simple, everyday coin that could secretly be worth a fortune. Yes, we're diving deep into the world of the 1967 United States 1-cent coin, also known as the Lincoln Memorial Cent now. We know what you might be thinking. How can a penny from the 1960s be worth anything more than 1 cent? Millions of people used it in vending machines, dropped it on sidewalks, and stuffed it into jars. But as you're about to learn, some of these coins carry secrets that make them extraordinarily valuable. So stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll never look at a penny the same way again. Let's start with a little background. The year 1967 was a time of great change in America. The Vietnam War was escalating, civil rights protests were gaining momentum, and the country was evolving rapidly. In the midst of all this, the United States Mint continued to produce the Lincoln penny, an unassuming copper coin with the face of President Abraham Lincoln on one side and the Lincoln Memorial on the other. On the surface, the 1967 penny doesn't look much different from the others minted in the 1960s. In fact, more than 3 billion of them were produced that year, most of them in Philadelphia. But here's where things get interesting. Not all 1967 pennies were created equal. You see, coin collectors, also known as numismatists, are always on the lookout for rare variations, minting errors, and coins in near-perfect condition. And the 1967 penny checks all those boxes if you know what to look for. Point 1, major reason some 1967 1-cent coins are worth far more than face value is due to rare minting errors. These are mistakes that happen during the production process at the U.S. Mint, and they're more common than you might think. Especially during periods of high coin output like the 1960s. Point 1, of the most famous errors that can make a 1967 penny valuable is the double die error. This happens when the coin is struck twice with slightly misaligned dies, creating a doubled image on parts of the coin, most often on the date, the lettering, or Lincoln's profile. If you spot doubling in the words "In God We Trust" or "Liberty," you might just be looking at a rare collectible. Another incredible error is the off-center strike, where the coin wasn't properly aligned in the press. This results in part of the design being cut off, with a crescent-shaped blank space showing on the coin. The more off-center the strike, while still keeping the date visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. And let's not forget about clipped planchets, when part of the metal blank used to strike the coin is missing due to a misfeed in the minting process. This creates a noticeable chunk missing from the coin, which makes it an eye-catching error that collectors love to get their hands on. But beyond errors, the true goldmine lies in the condition of the coin. The vast majority of 1967 pennies were used and worn down through years of circulation. But a few, just a precious few, were set aside, carefully preserved, and remain in mint state today. That means they show no signs of wear, scratches, or discoloration. They're crisp, shiny, and flawless. Coins like these are extremely rare and highly prized by collectors. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins on a 70-point scale, with higher numbers indicating better condition. A 1967 penny graded at MS 65 or higher is already considered valuable. But if you have a coin that's not only in near-perfect condition but also includes a rare mint error, that's when things get really exciting. Now here's where your ears should perk up, especially if you're a collector, a treasure hunter, or just someone with a passion for uncovering hidden value in everyday things. Because believe it or not, a 1967 Lincoln 1-cent coin with the right combination of rarity, error, and flawless preservation has sold for as much as $80,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. A single copper penny, the kind you might walk past on the street or toss into a coin jar, could be worth 80,000 United States dollars if it's the right kind. So what should you do now? Start looking. Check your old piggy banks, dig through that dusty coin collection in the attic, ask your relatives if they have any coins stashed away from decades past. Pay close attention to the details, look at the date, inspect for doubling, examine the edges for missing pieces or off-center designs. And if you find something unusual, get it professionally appraised. Because in the world of coin collecting, knowledge is power, and sometimes, a little copper coin holds a secret far greater than its size. Top 3, we're uncovering the secrets behind one of the most fascinating coins ever minted, the 1968 United States 1-cent coin. That's right, a penny. A small, copper coin you've likely held in your hand 1,000 times. But this one? It might just be hiding in plain sight, and it could be worth a small fortune. Now, before you brush off the idea of a penny being valuable, let me assure you, this isn't just pocket change. This is history. This is craftsmanship. And for the lucky few who have the right version of this coin, it's a gateway to an incredible payday. So grab your coin collection, settle in, and listen closely. Because by the end of this video, you'll understand why a single 1968 penny could be worth $78,000. Let's start with the basics. The year 1968 was a turning point in America. The country was going through intense cultural and political changes. Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy were both tragically assassinated that year. The Vietnam War was reaching a critical point. Meanwhile, the U.S. Mint continued producing everyday currency as if everything was normal. Among those coins was the humble 1-cent piece, known as the Lincoln Memorial Cent. The 1968 penny features the familiar bust of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. A design first introduced in 1959 to honor Lincoln's 150th birthday. It's made primarily of copper, and at first glance, looks no different than any other coin you'd find in your change. But here's where things start to get very, very interesting. You see, the 1968 1-cent coin was minted in 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and, most notably, San Francisco. Coins from Philadelphia have no mint mark. Denver coins are marked with a D, and San Francisco minted coins have an S mint mark. Now pay attention, because this is where collectors start paying real money, especially for proof coins and those struck in San Francisco. The U.S. Mint in San Francisco primarily produced proof coins during this era, highly polished, sharply detailed coins created especially for collectors. But every once in a while, a minting error would occur. And those errors? That's where the gold is. One of the most sought-after and rarest 1968 Lincoln cents is the 1968 S double die obverse. This means the die, the metal stamp used to strike the coin, shifted slightly, creating a distinct doubling effect on the date, the word, liberty, and sometimes the phrase, "In God We Trust." These doubled images are not design features, they are mistakes. And to collectors? Mistakes like these are beautiful. The doubling must be clear and visible to the naked eye, not just a trick of the light. If you see this kind of doubling on your 1968 S penny, especially in brilliant uncirculated condition, congratulations, you're looking at something extremely rare. But wait, there's more. There are other types of mint errors collectors look for. One is the off-center strike, where the coin is misaligned in the minting press, leaving a blank crescent-shaped area. The more off-center the coin is, while still displaying the full date, the more desirable it becomes. Then there are clipped planchet errors, where part of the coin's edge is literally missing due to an error in cutting the metal blank. And let's not forget about transitional errors, like when a coin is struck on a blank intended for a different year's composition. Even a small shift in metal type or weight can cause collectors to go wild. But the final piece of the puzzle is perhaps the most important: condition. A 1968 penny that's been circulated, worn down, scratched, or discolored is likely worth just a cent. But one that's been preserved in mint state, never touched by human hands, never dropped into a piggy bank, never rubbed against other coins, that's where the real value lies. Grading services like PCGS and NGC professionally evaluate coins. And when they find a 1968 penny in mint state 65 or higher, with a documented error, that's when the magic happens. That's when collectors start making offers. That's when auctions heat up. And that's when the price soars. Now here's the part that will have you racing to check your collection. Because in recent years, one of these rare 1968 Lincoln cents, with a stunning double die error and in pristine, untouched condition, sold for an absolutely breathtaking $78,000. Yes, you heard that right. One small copper coin, just a penny, changed someone's life. All because they recognized its rarity, its flaw, and its perfection. So if you're holding on to a 1968 penny, don't dismiss it. Take a close look. Use a magnifier. Examine every letter and number. Look for doubling, for off-center strikes, for anything unusual. You never know. You could be sitting on a piece of history worth more than some people's cars, even homes. And remember, coin collecting isn't just about money. It's about discovery, history, and the thrill of the hunt. Every coin has a story, and some of those stories are written in copper, etched in error, and worth $78,000. Top 4, we're diving deep into a coin that looks ordinary at first glance, but for collectors and sharp-eyed enthusiasts, it could be hiding a secret worth more than most people ever imagined. We're talking about the 1971 United States 1-cent coin, better known as the Lincoln Memorial Penny. But don't be fooled by its humble appearance. This small, round piece of history might just be worth a life-changing amount of money if you happen to have the right one. So stay with us, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for and just how valuable one of these little coins can become. Let's take a step back in time. The year was 1971. The United States was in the midst of major transformation. The Vietnam War continued to weigh heavily on the nation. Technology was rapidly advancing, and the culture was shifting as a new generation of Americans came of age. Through it all, the U.S. Mint continued its everyday operations, striking billions of coins to keep the economy running, and among them, the Lincoln penny. The 1971 penny features the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design by Victor David Brenner that had already been in use since 1909. On the back, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, a tribute to one of America's greatest presidents, designed by Frank Gasparro. It's a coin that millions of Americans used without a second thought. But as any experienced collector will tell you, not all 1971 pennies are created equal. This is where things get interesting. The United States Mint produced these pennies at 3 different locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, marked with a D; and San Francisco, marked with an S. Each mint struck billions of pennies that year. But buried among those billions are rarities, coins with errors so unique, so distinctive, that they're now worth thousands of times more than their face value. One of the most coveted 1971 penny variations is the double die obverse, a classic minting error that causes certain parts of the coin's design to appear doubled. Imagine looking at your penny and seeing 2 sets of letters in God We Trust, or a shadowy second image in the word Liberty. That's not your eyes playing tricks on you. That's a real minting error, and it's incredibly rare. Collectors love these double die errors because they're dramatic, easy to identify, and very hard to find. And the more obvious the doubling, the more valuable the coin becomes. The 1971 double die error is most often found on Philadelphia minted coins, those with no mint mark, so pay close attention if you have one of these in your collection. But that's just the beginning. Another error to watch for is the off-center strike, which happens when the blank coin isn't aligned properly during the minting process. This results in part of the design being cut off or shifted dramatically to one side. These coins are prized by collectors for their visual appeal and rarity. There's also the fascinating clipped planchet error, where part of the coin's edge is literally missing due to a mistake during the metal blank cutting phase. These coins often have a noticeable crescent missing from one side, making them highly collectible. Now, let's talk about condition. While minting errors are incredibly important, condition is king in the world of coin collecting. A 1971 penny that has been heavily circulated, scratched, worn down, or tarnished is likely not going to command a high price. But if you have a 1971 penny in mint state, untouched by circulation and graded MS-65 or higher, the value increases significantly. Combine that level of pristine condition with a major error, like a bold double die or a rare strike anomaly, and you've got something truly special. In the eyes of a serious numismatist, that's not just a coin, it's a masterpiece. Some of the most valuable coins are those with proof-like surfaces or those struck with extraordinary detail. The contrast, the shine, the clarity, all these tiny details can turn a 1-cent coin into a true collector's item. So, what's the payoff? Well, after years of research, auctions, and private sales, we've seen that one of these rare 1971 pennies, with a dramatic double die error, in mint state condition, authenticated and graded by a reputable service, has sold for an astonishing $75,000. That's right. One little penny. One coin that someone might have overlooked, tossed aside, or spent without a second glance. But with the right combination of rarity, error, and condition, it turned out to be worth more than many brand new cars, or even more than a year's salary for some people. So the question is, do you have one? It might be hiding in your collection, waiting to be discovered. Or maybe it's in a box of coins from a grandparent, or tucked away in a forgotten drawer. The next time you come across a 1971 penny, don't ignore it. Inspect it carefully. Look for doubling. Check for off-center strikes. Hold it under a magnifying glass and study it with curiosity, because the next great treasure might just be hiding in the palm of your hand. Top 5, we've got something truly exciting to talk about. A tiny treasure that might just be hiding in your pocket, your coin jar, or even an old collection passed down through the generations. It's a coin most people glance at and forget. But for those who know what to look for, it could be the key to a truly jaw-dropping discovery. That's right. We're taking a close look at the 1975 United States 1-cent coin, better known as the Lincoln penny. Now, don't let its small size or familiar face fool you. While the average person might think this coin is only worth 1 cent, there are rare versions out there that can fetch tens of thousands of dollars. So listen closely, because we're about to uncover what makes the 1975 penny one of the most surprising and exciting pieces in American coinage. Let's start with the basics. The 1975 penny features the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the same design that's been in use since 1909. On the reverse side, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial, detailed and elegant, with even the tiny statue of Lincoln visible if you look closely enough. This design, by Frank Gasparo, was meant to commemorate Lincoln's legacy and remind us of the values he stood for: freedom, equality, and unity. Now, in 1975, the United States Mint was operating in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Philadelphia don't carry a mint mark, Denver coins have a small d, and San Francisco coins are usually struck as proof coins, specially made for collectors with high attention to detail and polished finishes. But here's where things get really interesting. Even though the 1975 penny was produced in massive quantities, over 10 billion coins, it's not about how many were made. It's about how few remain in pristine condition, and how even fewer were struck with unusual and rare minting errors. Let's talk about those errors. Because if you're a collector, you know that sometimes a flaw is what turns a regular coin into a superstar. One of the most exciting types of errors found on 1975 pennies is the double die obverse. This is when the design on the front of the coin, Lincoln's profile, the word Liberty, the date 1975, and the motto "In God We Trust" is struck twice, just slightly out of alignment. The result? A ghost-like doubling effect that's easy to spot and highly prized by collectors. Now don't confuse this with simple wear or damage. True doubling is part of the minting process itself and makes the coin far more valuable than its everyday counterparts. If you've got a 1975 penny with strong doubling on the letters or date, especially if it's in excellent condition, you might be holding on to something very rare. Another type of valuable error is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin blank isn't properly aligned during minting, leading to a coin that's partially blank on one edge, while the rest of the design is pushed to the side. These are easy to spot, and the more dramatic the error, the more collectible the coin becomes, especially if the date is still visible. We also have to mention clipped planchets, where part of the coin is missing due to a mistake in cutting the metal before the coin is struck. And let's not forget about die cracks, cuds, or coins struck on the wrong planchet entirely. Each of these rare errors tells a unique story and adds major collector appeal. But what's just as important as the error is the condition of the coin. A 1975 penny that's been through years of pockets, cash registers, and jars might not fetch much. But a coin that was never circulated, one that still gleams with that original copper red color, free from scratches and wear, can skyrocket in value. The grading scale used by professionals goes up to MS 70, and coins that grade MS 65 or higher are considered in brilliant uncirculated condition. Now combine that kind of flawless condition with one of the major mint errors we've talked about, a sharp double die, an off-center strike, or a clipped planchet, and you've got something incredibly special. Something that collectors would fight to add to their collections. And here's the part you've been waiting for, the moment that makes you want to check every coin you've ever handled. Because one of these 1975 Lincoln cents, struck with a bold double die error and preserved in near-perfect condition, was sold for a staggering $72,000. Yes, you heard that right. One single penny, a coin that most people wouldn't think twice about, ended up changing someone's life. So the next time you come across a 1975 penny, don't toss it aside. Examine it. Use a magnifying glass. Look at the date. Look at the letters. Is there any doubling? Any unusual strike pattern? Is it off-center or missing a piece? You might just be staring at a hidden gem that the world overlooked. Coin collecting isn't just about old money. It's about the thrill of discovery, the joy of history, the excitement of finding something rare in the most unexpected places. And sometimes, it's about turning 1 cent into $72,000. If you love this story and want more exciting deep dives into rare and valuable coins, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a hidden treasure. Thanks for watching, and remember, your next great find could be just 1 penny away.